So next up, I am so excited to introduce Reverend Yearwood. So Reverend Lennox Yearwood Jr. is the president and CEO of the Hip Hop Caucus. He is a minister, a community activist, and one of the most influential people in hip hop political life. He works tirelessly to encourage the hip hop generation to utilize its political and social voice. As a national leader in the Green Movement, Reverend Yearwood has been successfully bridging the gap between communities of color and environmental advocacy for the last decade. Please join me in giving a huge and warm welcome to Reverend Yearwood.
Man, that is all right. Now, y'all might not have heard what I heard, but when I was coming up here to my table mates, I was walking to the podium, said, all right, Rev, can't stop. That's all right there. You know when you can go to a CEH Gala dinner and you're greeted with can't stop, won't stop, then you know you are in the right place. First and foremost, let me say congratulations to CEH, the Center for Environmental Health, for 20 years of service and saving lives. Give it up, folks. It means next year you'll be 21. And then you can come hang out with the Rev. We could do some things. You know, you have to laugh. I was following behind. Give it up for your amazing senators from here. One of the things I want to lead off with is actually piggybacking off of Dr. King. And April 3rd of 1968, Dr. King gave his mountaintop speech in Memphis, Tennessee. And in that speech, one of the things that was amazing was that he was there in Memphis to fight for the sanitation workers in the city. And one of the things during the speech, he talked about how if the Wonder Bread factory or Wonder Bread company wouldn't do right by the communities, that then we would need to boycott Wonder Bread. He talked about the banks and the other companies in Memphis who weren't doing right by the people. You see, that's important because sometimes we only hear about Dr. King's dream, and we don't hear about how he challenged corporations up to the last day before he was assassinated. That's important because CEH has picked up the mantle, that mantle of Dr. King, to take on corporations who don't view humans as humans, who don't view people as people, and put profits before people, even at their own expense. I love being here in the Bay because you will get certain names to certain things. Like, we will say Exxon on the East Coast, and we'll say chevron. And I got out here to the West Coast, so you don't say chevron. You say, oh no, Red, we call them chevron out here on the West Coast. But the thing, though, that CEH did was that they took on and continue to take on companies who are putting toxins and waste and polluting and causing cancer and causing asthma and causing all these things to our people. And we want you to continue that fight, that amazing fight for environmental justice, that amazing fight for health justice, that amazing fight for people in general. Because what we need now in the climate movement and in our movement in general is a movement that needs courage. So let me actually just say this so I can get it off my chest. Y'all don't mind that here in the Gala, do y'all? Y'all seem like I'm really from Louisiana. Y'all seem like home folk. I can talk about some things. We are now in a difficult time, to say the least. We got some rough days ahead. There aren't too many mountaintops from where we sit. It looks bleak. It looks tough. And it looks rough. And anybody who comes to tell you that it's going to be all right and there's no problems ahead, then they've been hanging out at the bar for far too long. And that's okay too. But the reality right now is that we have people who are in charge, literally putting corporations before people. We have climate deniers as a job requisite to get the jobs in the federal government of this amazing country of ours. That's right, you can boo, it's all right. We have Exxon leading the State Department. We got climate denying Scott Pruitt leading the EPA. We got Perry, who wanted to close energy, now in charge of energy. It really gets out of control. It really gets embarrassing. To have these people in charge at this moment. But the reality is this, is that what's even scarier is that while Dr. King fought for equality in the 20th century, we are now fighting for existence in the 21st century. And so there's never a time for us to give up and stop fighting. I was so happy to see 200,000 people in the streets last week in Washington, D.C. And over 300 sister marches all around this country. But the one thing that we have to do as a movement is that we need to have real climate leadership moving forward. What does that mean, Rev? That means this. That means that for too long, we have treated politicians like they were children who needed to be coddled. That we couldn't tell them that, listen, I thought they cut the mic on that one. I thought the mic went dead on that. I said, man, I was going to do a check. That was funny. That would have been all right. I said politicians, and it was whoop. They don't need to be coddled. They're not young children. Whoop. The reality in that is this: they don't need to be. But we as a climate movement has coddled politicians and allowed them to tell us what climate leadership is. You can't say you're going to do renewables on Monday and then discuss fracking on Wednesday. That does not mean climate leadership. You can't discuss health care and environmental justice on Tuesday, but you're talking with those who are polluting the same people and killing them on Thursday. That is not climate leadership. And as a movement, we've been so happy just to have people acknowledge that people are causing climate change. That we're just so happy that they would just acknowledge that fact, that we've allowed them to do whatever they wanted to do. Well, that day stops right now. We demand climate leadership so that when we hear politicians say, finally, we will have 100%, then we as a movement rejoice. Number two, we will not win against these corporations and the fossil fuel petrostate if we try to fight them as a siloed, segregated climate movement. You cannot have those fighting for environmental justice over here and mountaintop removal over here, fracking over there. You can't have black and white over here and brown and red. You can't have those who are straight or gay or theists or atheists. We must fight this as a human movement. The third thing, we must have courage. Recently, a friend of mine came to the Hip Hop Caucus. His name is Mustafa Ali. And Mustafa was at the EPA for 24 years. He started when he was 6. It was amazing, because it was like first grade EPA, making it happen. And in that process, he was there, he had to make a decision, do I stay here and be lukewarm, or do I leave the suites and go to the streets? And he decided to put that aside, his nice office and all those things, and came down to us in the Hip Hop Caucus and said, listen, let's make this thing happen to fight for the people, and here he is. So give it up for Mustafa Ali, y'all. So I close how I started. I mentioned to you how this road is tough. But I also want to use Dr. King as an example of what we need to do. It gets a little deep for me because I recently actually went through an episode myself fighting, and you have to look back on these things to remind yourself. In 1956, Dr. King, after successfully doing the Montgomery County bus boycott, his house was bombed. Let that sink in for a second. Your children, your wife, and others are in this home, and your home is bombed. In 1958, in Harlem on a book tour, he was stabbed. And he said, if I had only sneezed, I would have died. When he was planning to march on Washington in 1963, Medgar Evers was shot in his driveway. And then 3 months later, they still need to continue to push on. This cycle would continue all the way through, them having wins and losses, personal attacks, but he continued to fight on. I stopped by here today, at this 20th anniversary for this amazing organization to tell you that, yes, we do have those who are in office. Yes, we do have those who are climate deniers. Yes, this week they may pull out from the Paris Accord. Yes, they have tried to cancel health care. Yes, they're trying to ruin the EPA. And I can go on and on and on. And I know that it gets tough. But I stopped by here to tell somebody that we as a movement can't stop fighting. That we can't give up. We can't give in. And when Dr. King stood up there at the March on Washington, he had a dream one day that one day we would come together as black and white and brown and yellow and male and female, that he saw this amazing country. And he said that one day that shackles of racism, that while it still exists today, he saw a better place. And he stood on that podium. He said that one day we shall be free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty we'll be free at last. Well, right now, in 2017, yes, we got Donald Trump. And yes, we got Pruitt. And yes, we got Tillerson. And yes, we have those who don't want to transition from fossil fuels to clean energy. But we, as a movement, shall fight so that the next generation, they will stand up. And they won't just say, free at last. Free at last. They will stand up because of all of our work. And they will say that we are now fossil-free at last. Fossil-free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are fossil-free at last. Congratulations, CEH, on 20 years. Power to the people.
My friends, we have just been taken to Climate Church.